Hi guys, I am living, breathing proof that the ketogenic diet works. I use it intermittently. I use it for say 8 months of the year, and the other times I eat whatever I want, a regular kind of a diet of McDonald's or any kind of food. I don't usually have carbs at home for dinner, but I might have a bagel, sandwich, or something like that. But in between, now I don't do it 8 months, 4 months. I do it kind of intermittently. So, like I said, at Christmas, I ate whatever I wanted: turkey dinner, mashed potato, roast potato, whatever I want, chips. Went away for a weekend drinking and eating whatever I want. But in between, I do the ketogenic diet because I'm not one of these crazed, I call them the crazed crowd, that needs to be on it all the time. I watched someone the other day on TikTok who's a carnivore. Carnivore is a kind of an extreme form of keto. It does work. I was a carnivore for a little while. I personally, I think it's too extreme, you know. There's no joy. There's no joy in it. And they were like, no, you can't ever have any kind of carbohydrate. You must have that. And that's bad for the reality. The reality is we live in a world full of lovely things. Eating carbohydrates, I would say for definite, makes you more creative. Drinking alcohol makes you more creative, more responsive, more. Sometimes drinking alcohol can, not be good if you do too much. But now and again, glass of wine, glass of beer, whatever. I would never have any spirits. I really think you should just avoid those entirely. 40%. No, if it's something like a mojito or something now and again, that's all right. But I generally don't have that kind of 40% stuff. And in general, I don't think that's really that. I think that's really too strong. But anyway, that's my own opinion. But I do think that you can have moderation, and you can. I am living, breathing proof. I have had 3 blood tests since I started the ketogenic diet in May the 8th, 2023. And my blood tests have gotten better and better. My cardiovascular risk is almost at zero now. Unfortunately, I did not get a blood test before because I never knew there was anything wrong with me, except in kind of late 2022. No, my weight always was. I'm a white carb girl. I think I was probably vegan, vegetarian. I was vegetarian for a good few years, leaned on the vegan side, and ate carbs all the time, every meal. Now there might have been brown carbs like brown bread or something, but I could have gone for days with no protein at all, and some, maybe not great fats. So that's no protein for months. I easily could have lived off bread and butter, bread and butter and jam or whatever. I never, like, I'm well educated, but I never really thought about that kind of stuff. I grew up on a farm. My mother was a brilliant cook. We ate very well. Now, there would have been carbs probably with most meals, but we ate very well. There was no snacking. She was kind of like, the wooden spoon was out. If anybody, later on, I think we kind of started snacking a bit, but maybe because she had so many of us, she was like, okay, whatever. Um, but early on, there was no snacking whatsoever. So it was only when I went out working when I was 15 that I had power over my own food. So it was sugar, carbs, whatever. I never, ever, ever thought about how bad it was for me. Really, even I did dieting over the years, this diet, that diet, low fat, measured amounts of food. I did those. They work brilliantly. You lose a lot of weight. It takes about maybe 20 weeks to a year to lose maybe 4 or 5. I would have always been carrying maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 stone too much. But in 2022, I was driving a lot for work and it seemed to spiral out of all control. I just was piling on what seemed to be belly fat, but I thought it was because I was sitting in the car. I didn't really understand what was going on. And then I got a terrible pain under my left rib, which I assumed was a hernia because I had had a hernia in my belly button years earlier, or not so many years earlier. And so I knew the pain. I knew that pain was the same pain, but now it was up under my left rib. And it's not that I didn't want to go and do something about it. I knew it was a different problem. I knew that this was a problem that if they mesh up this side, it's going to shove out. Where's the fat going to go? I was at the point where I felt like the fat was going to go somewhere else. So it was maybe it'll push up the other side, you know. But I had no concept of my internal body health. Zero. Zero. Like, for someone that is, I would think that I'm well read enough. I think I was so addicted to sugar and carbs. It wasn't even that I was a chocoholic or a sweetaholic. I was a breadaholic. Bread, potatoes, whatever. I would rather, if I got a plate of dinner, turkey and ham or something, I would rather eat the potatoes part. That was what I was like back then. And to be honest, meat gave me the ick. Like, I was a vegetarian for a few years in college, and then I started eating meat bits and pieces, but I would have eaten very little meat, very little meat. So the concept, luckily when I started on keto, the whole thing about meat, carnivore, was not apparent. I didn't really see that I had to be addicted. It was lots of rocket leaves, cruciferous vegetables, cheese, eggs. Like, I hadn't eaten eggs in 10 years. And now I was faced with eating eggs. And they, to be quite honest, before that, they used to give me the ick. So I reintroduced these things and then discovered it's not giving me the ick anymore. But it took a few days, and that was the keto flu that I didn't realize at the time. But anyway, prior to that, I was getting fat, but and it was really only that pain. I really would not have looked for a solution only for this extreme pain. And I just thought, I'll go down to the operating theatre, they'll stick in a mesh, and it'll come out somewhere else on the other side, under the other. And even though I was I worried? Was I scared? A little. So I was desperate. And then I was scrolling through my phone, trying to find answers. But also, I had been on two very famous diets over the years, which did work. But then I put back on the weight again, and I was like, I don't really want to do that again. One of them was very expensive, and they take a lot of commitment. Oh, I was on a third one, which was going to the gym. And the gym instructor gave me a diet plan, but it was carbs at every meal. Now, it was, when I look back, it was a little more keto than some of the other ones I had been on, but still, and the protein element there was definitely protein mentioned a lot more in the diets. I still didn't correlate, nothing went in. I'd never really understood what was happening. I just thought I was eating less food. And I felt hungry on those diets all day long, and I would eat when I was supposed to, 2 turkey rashers for breakfast with half a bagel, watch your carbs, must be whole meal, no butter, blah, blah, blah. And I found them kind of depressing, to be honest. But look, I did them and they worked, and I was very slim. I got to nearly 10 stone with one of them, which actually my ideal weight apparently is 154 pounds, which is 11 stone, because I have big bones apparently, whatever scanner they used. So I got to 10, and I do remember 10 to 11 stone was too skinny for me. I didn't feel well, and it didn't look right. But anyway, I mean, of course, every woman wants to be that skinny. No hassle. So that happened. So then this was this very bad pain. And I remember one night happening upon Dr. Berg, the Ketogenic Diet, blah, blah, blah. And I remember hearing, when I was living in Killarney, I used to live in Killarney with this fabulous girl, Anne, from Kinmare. And I remember her talking about ketones, but zero real understanding about it, because she was going on some diet and it was involving ketones. Maybe she mentioned the keto diet. Maybe there was a book in the house. I don't remember. All I remember was that we were kind of a little bit drunk one night in her house in Kinmare, and she was talking about ketones. And I was in a fog. You know, it was like, we were on it was after we came home from whatever pub we were in. So it was great crack, but I do remember, and this was the funny thing. This is how life, I always think it circles back, you know. So I'm sitting there with Anne with an E, and she is talking about this. So, and then in 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I'm lying down and I'm going, ketogenic diet. And then Dr. Berg is rambling on, and I'm going, what's this about? So I didn't look at it for another 2 weeks. I was like, no, I think that's a weirdo diet. That's weirdo. That's going into weirdo land. We don't do weirdo land. We do what we're doing already, but we go on the diet plans. We increase the amount of chicken and take out a little bit of the pasta. Still never correlated. Don't use fat in our sauce. Blah, blah, blah. So it was only because over the next 2 weeks, I was doing my job. I was driving a lot and I was eating a lot of pastries. And so I just thought whenever your blood sugar drops, when you get that feeling of hunger, you eat. So I had bought into that kind of plan of eating regularly, small meals, whatever. Latte, and a problem with driving is you pull in for a latte. You're never prepared. Like I was bringing lunch boxes with me to work, but I was also pulling in places because I wanted a hot coffee or whatever. So you're never as prepared as you should be. But even as it was, even if I did go with 2 lunch boxes to work, which I did occasionally, it was still all the wrong food. So I'd be bringing those pre-packed cinnamon rolls and stuff like that you can get in Tesco and places like that. So then I was faced again with this pain. So sometimes I would be pushing down, but it was under with this bottom rib here on the left. So I couldn't really reach it, which when I had the thing in my belly, the hernia in my belly, I was able to often push it back in. It was only at the stage where I couldn't get it back in one time that I had to get it. It was an emergency surgery because the food was trapped in my intestine out through my belly button, which can happen sometimes if that muscle splits in the middle. So it was just one of those things. A little hole had formed and the hole had gotten a little bit bigger, and then it kind of was strangulating a little piece of the intestine. So that's why I understood this unbelievable pain. So was I worried about it was high up, so I thought probably the food, it was probably a different part of the intestine. And then I was reading about a lot of these hernias up here are caused by internal yellow fat. So I was like, oh, it's probably fat. So like it might be fat because I wasn't, I don't know much about the intestines, but I knew enough that it was probably not going to be like the lower one down around my belly button, that it might have food that would be getting old and that's not good because of bacterial infections and stuff. So I then went back to the keto thing because then it was, the pain was really bad. I had to lie on my back. I was there, oh God. And then I thought, I'm definitely going to have to contact the doctor. I definitely contact the doctor. But what I decided to do, and I don't think it was really a conscious decision, was I went back on the phone and I looked up this thing again. Luckily, I had it in my, the way I had watched a little bit of it. So I thought, this is ridiculous. I really genuinely thought, this is ridiculous. But I decided to embark on it because I was that desperate. I swear to God, now 3 days, I felt like rubbish. Luckily, I started it, I think on a Thursday or Friday. I think I started on a Thursday. And I felt terrible on the Saturday. Not as bad on the Sunday, but oh my God, terrible. What I didn't realize at the time was that it was keto flu, because when you start off something, sometimes you do have incomplete information. So I didn't know really what was happening until I read something or watched something later. But fortunately, at the same time, I found Dr. Berg, I found Dr. Jason Fung, I found other doctors because I'm a devil. I don't listen to one guy. I go around and I research a whole lot of other people. And I touched on Dr. Lustig, Dr. Bickman, so Dr. Hyman. Dr. Hyman I discredited in my head, discounted for a while. And then I realized, actually, he's talking the same language. He just does more of a paleo diet, which I don't really like that much. I prefer the cheese, meat, protein, fat heavy diet. So in general, when I'm on keto, I eat less than 5 grams of carbs a day. And that's through rocket leaves, Brussels sprouts, and that kind of stuff. So in my next video, I'm going to describe more of my diet. But that was the road to Damascus. And I am ever so grateful. And I'm now 2 years on. I've had 3 blood tests. They have been magnificent. I have virtually zero cardiovascular risk. My brain is so clear. Everything feels amazing. One of my sons, he said, Mom, if you got shot, you'd be able to get over it by keto. What a little bastard. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. I'll go back over because this video is going on.